Hi guys, thank you for joining us today and welcome to our webinar. My name is Natalia and I'm a Customer Success Manager at Piwik PRO. I'll be hosting today's webinar. The topic of today's webinar is our new SharePoint integration with dedicated reports in Piwik PRO. And that's why I'm joined by our two experts, Piotr and Bartek, who will tell us a little bit more about this solution. So first, I would like you guys to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about what you do. Piotr, you're a product manager. Can you tell us about your experience in Piwik PRO?
Yeah, hello all. My name is Piotr Szostak and I joined Piwik PRO a couple of years ago. I'm responsible for building and maintenance of Piwik PRO Tag Manager, Content Manager, and of course, SharePoint Analytics integration. And one of my main duties is to identify clients' business needs and convert them to our product roadmap.
Great, thank you. And Bartek, what do you do as a solution architect?
So I've been with the company for almost 2 years, and my main duties are to be at the forefront of the contact with the prospects and clients, and basically make sure that whatever the needs they have are addressed with our solutions.
Great, I can see that I've got the best people with me today. And before we jump to the webinar, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the agenda and tell you what you can expect from the webinar. So at first, we'll talk about the Piwik PRO SharePoint integration when I'll be interviewing the guys about the solution. Then we will see everything that we've talked about on the product demo. Then we will talk about the main key points that I would like you guys to remember from this webinar. Then we'll find out what's next on the roadmap. And last but not least, we'll run a Q&A session at the end. So I really encourage you guys to send your questions throughout this whole webinar so we can answer all of them at the end. Right, so I think we can jump into the first part of the presentation, which is the Piwik PRO SharePoint integration. And as a customer success manager, my job is to speak to the clients on a daily basis and know the clients. And I know that we have a lot of customers who use Piwik PRO to measure their intranet usage. And I'm guessing that this was a main reason why this implementation started. But if you guys could tell me a little bit more insights, that would be great.
Yes, so Piwik PRO is an analytics suite with focus on user privacy and data security. It is a great tool to collect information about web and mobile visitors. A lot of our clients used to track their internet with our solution. And we noticed that this was not the optimal way of doing it because it requires too much manual work. For example, setting up custom reports. And answering our clients' needs, we decided to do a step forward and build a dedicated solution to track and reporting SharePoint. We also wanted to have plug-and-play integration and track SharePoint specific events by default and convert them to predefined reports, but still keep a possibility to customize it.
Great, so long story short, we just want to make our clients' experience a little bit easier, but what other benefits do they get from this solution?
Well, we identified several business needs areas like improve internet adoption, so make sure that employees are using SharePoint. Then understand user engagement in context of departments, offices, roles, etc. Analyze content consumption. So understand what type of content creates the most social buzz. I'm talking about likes, comments, shares in SharePoint, and measure what user consume and create. Then discover internal demands for new content. So find out what users are looking for, but it is missing. Boost productivity, identify what blocks your employees from accessing the information and they need, and remove those roadblocks from them. And the last but not least, validate internet investment cost by checking the number of active users.
All right, I'm so glad that you guys looked at this at so many angles because I think they're all very important to our clients. Can you tell me what versions of SharePoint that this solution work with?
Sure. We focus on all the versions supported by Microsoft. We can divide them into two groups. First one is on premises, and here we've got SharePoint 2013, 2016, and 2019. The second group is cloud, and I'm talking here about SharePoint Online, which is a part of Office 365. The app, I'm talking about the SharePoint connector, can be delivered in two models, app and WSP. And it is the opposite to typical web app tracking. The advantage of our solution is access to SharePoint specific data, like, for example, like user attributes. We cover both types of SharePoint layout, modern and classic. And Piwik PRO Analytics Suite can be delivered in three models. First one is on-premises, so it can be delivered on your own infrastructure. Then we've got private cloud, so you can have dedicated infrastructure, and it is hosted by us, and you can choose the location of it. And one more is cloud, so here we can choose between locations in Europe or US.
Okay, I can see that there's a lot of possibilities, which is great. But I think we've covered the most basic information about the why. Now I want to know how. So could you tell me what can we actually track in SharePoint?
Right, so let me step into the scene. So basically, when we were thinking about SharePoint, it is quite a complex solution. So in order to make it feasible and basically something that it could be used by most of our clients, we wanted to boil it down into key areas that would cover what is most important. So thinking of where we can track it. So basically, you can deploy our solution on any of your SharePoint tenants. We would be tracking any number of site collections. It is up to you which ones you want to track and which ones you want to report. And then moving a little bit into the what. So we know that all the content, or most of the content, is stored within the libraries. And here we're mainly putting our ideas towards the pages, files, and lists, and knowing where something is actually placed, what it is only part of a story. So just thinking about the events that are most common, we actually divided them into a couple of groups, and those are available as additional information while you're analyzing the data. So we would think about how the pages or files were created or edited. If something was opened, viewed, or downloaded, then going back to searches, we would know what people search for and where does it lead them. Talking about that social buzz, we can also see whether people comment, like, or share certain content. And you could also have a look at where promoting of a given website brings up the results of spreading the knowledge within the organization. All of that is actually encapsulated or has got additional layer of information that is added to it by simply who performs those actions. So I'll let Piotr explain to you a little bit more about that here.
Yes. All the events that we track with our solution are enriched with visitors and authors profile attributes like username and ID, office, department, job title, and there is also a possibility to add some custom attributes to it. And so what does it mean? We always keep detailed information about users, and we use it in our SharePoint predefined reports. You can also anonymize those data. So you choose what will be tracked.
Great, so that doesn't sound too bad, guys, but I'm sure that there's more potential that this integration have, right?
Yes, of course. So what I spoke about is more about the core of our ideas of what would be most useful to most of our clients. And here we are actually thinking that is way more that certain customers of certain clients would like to see with their implementation. So basically, what we want to do is give them additional possibilities to basically track even additional events. So you could track videos or SharePoint web parts. You may actually enrich those by adding additional user profiles, like a country or a region. Then something extra that may be very useful for your organization is anonymizing of the data if you actually need it. So basically, you can pick which user attributes are tracked. You can even anonymize the IPs, or if need be, hash the user IDs as well. Then what comes into play is, which is quite powerful tool within Piwik PRO, is the reporting itself. You can customize any of the bespoke or core reports, but also build dashboards that combine different reports into one single space. And last but not least, you can always email those to distribution lists, and those can be scheduled. So you do not have to access the reporting tool for the most common reports all the time.
Right, now, this is what I was looking for when I challenged you to answer this question. So thank you so much for the great answer. Right, I think we've covered everything for this presentation part, and I think we're all dying to see the live product. But just before we jump to the demo, I'd like to remind you guys about the Q&A that we'll have at the end. So if you have any questions about the presentation part, now's the best time to send them. And I'm passing the mic to Bartek, who will show you the demo of the product.
All right, so let us jump into the product itself. So basically what you'll be looking at is an actual live product. So I'll be taking you through some of the reports and explaining to you the functionality that can enhance your experience and further your analysis within the tool. So what you're looking at now is a standard report. This time we're actually looking at the page usage. So over here you immediately can see what is the trends of given metrics across the time within the time frame that you picked. If you scroll down to the bottom, you are digging deeper into the details. So basically on the basis of each of those pages, distinguished by their URLs, you've got the results sorted in a table, and here you can quickly use any type of metric to just go top to bottom, bottom to top, to see what is actually performing best. If you move it a little bit further up, you can always search for a specific website or a specific file if the list gets too long. So quickly you can actually narrow it down to specific items on the list. Then if you actually want to get a little bit better understanding of who's actually using those user attributes that we spoke a little bit earlier about, the office, department, or job title, are also available within the reporting. So here, let me show you that whenever you see an item or a list of items that is highlighted in blue, that means that you can dig deeper. The description of it, how you navigate that, is shown over here. So first we see the page URL, then we dig into the office, go deeper, and then see the department, etc. So basically when we click on the item, now we can see which offices actually had the most page views of that particular page. Then we can go and click into the office, and then we'll see which department, and so on and so forth. If you want to go straight into the department, just click over here, and it loads such table where you can easily go say, you want to go to sales department and see what are the pages that they were actually looking at. So that's one of the ways that you can analyze that information. Let us go back to the main picture. One thing that you can always do is actually go compare it versus say the previous period. So here immediately you'll be able to compare like for like this period versus the previous of performance of specific websites. Then in the table below, you've got access to all of those metrics with the comparison with the percentage change versus what was going on before. Let me just clean it up and just go back to the view of just one single period. So that's basically the most commonly used report of knowing to know what is the most popular page being looked at by your employees. What if you actually wanted to check the, say, the files or the list? So over here on the left-hand side within the content part of the reporting, you can quickly just switch to the file usage. And as you can see in lots of places, we actually incorporated the metrics that are typical for the SharePoint integration over here. And if you're unsure what a given metric actually means, the handy tooltip will explain it to you very quickly. Then one other thing that I wanted to show you is actually the usage of the segments. So you can build your own segments and use it across all of the reports. So over here, if you wanted to have a look at, for example, whether, again, how the sales team is actually accessing those files versus the rest of the company, you can quickly do that. So if we want to, we can compare them, for example, to another team, which is operations. So quickly, we can just do side-by-side comparison for different segments of users, and it's entirely up to you how you create them. Here we actually got 2 departments, but we can also focus on, for example, mobile users versus desktop users. That's entirely up to you how you utilize that. If we wanted to actually know a little bit about what is creating the social buzz, so something that I've already mentioned to you, the likes, shares, and comments, that is another section of reporting, the social engagement. Over here, you can analyze what's going on with the content through those lenses. So if we just sort a table and see which page got most of the likes, it's easy like that. You can pick any other metric very quickly and change the way you look at that particular report. Something that I also wanted to show you here is that there is that handy icon next to the URL of a given page, and if you click on that, a handy quick pop-up with the user flow report will show you the step before and the step after of a given page, so you can quickly see how people get to a given part of SharePoint and how they move forward. This is a very powerful tool. I will go back to it in our custom reporting, so bear that in mind, because that's one of my favorite reports to use for analysis. Staying a little bit longer in that social engagement section, if you wanted to actually analyze which of the author is the most successful in driving the engagement from the users into their content, you can quickly do that here. As you can see, the attributes of the author are actually captured here, and we can quickly either look through the lens of the office or even jump straight ahead into the list of specific users and say, okay, we want to see the performance of Wilfred. Why would you do that? Well, basically here you can see if there's anyone like a knowledge expert that is very good at spreading the information across your organization. And here you can basically see, well, is it actually the worthwhile engaging with them and trying to replicate their success? Maybe there is something that you can improve, or there may be something missing in the content that they create. Speaking of which, let us move to the internal search section. So basically what you see here is what people search for, what keywords they search for, and actually where they moved forward. So say if they search for the company strategy, those are the URLs that they followed after searching for it. So you can quickly see where people move from the search results. And then you can always analyze it through the lens of different department or office to understand whether there's something missing for those guys. But what is more powerful to use are the reports that are actually showing you what was not found or what was missing. In this particular one, we see all of the keywords that were searched for, and then the user left the SharePoint environment not being happy with what was displayed for them on the result list. If you look at the search with no results, this may be very handy for you to basically see what were the keywords that actually brought no results. So maybe you need to update some keywords on specific news articles. Maybe there is some content that needs to be created. But here you can see that actually this particular report only shows you the keywords. You can quickly customize it to add department, for example, just clicking on the customize button. What that is going to show is just how that report is being built. So let me just show you how you could utilize our builder. So as you can see, we give you full access to the dimensions and the metrics that we collect for you, and then you can go to the SharePoint section and drag and drop the department over here, and simple as that, you enhance your report with additional information. So now we jumped into the custom report section, and here you can see that this is exactly the same report, but this time around, once we click into the specific keyword, we will see who or which departments actually search for that given keyword. So that's actually how easily you can customize those reports. And whenever you feel like you want to edit that, just click the edit button and, for example, change the order of the dimensions, and now you will be looking at the departments first and then what they looked for. Again, you can just add some additional metrics or just remove them or reorder them by simply using the drag and drop functionality. Additional filtering possibilities are available for you to even make more specific reports if you wish to. So I wanted to show you something that I mentioned to you before, which is the user flow reporting. So over here, let me jump into this one. If you're interested in how people get to the page where you actually store the Meteor keynote, you see the whole traffic of how people get there. As you can see, we're actually breaking it down by the source of the traffic, so we can see whether they entered that page directly or whether it was entered by the newsletter. You can quickly see the flows of each of the nodes and how people moved across from one to another. So that's actually how you could analyze each of the steps. Additionally, what you could do is actually for each of the nodes, you can highlight the top path. So basically see across the whole journey how users moved around here. You can then also jump in and show the transitions. So something that you've already seen with retaining the highlighted path in here. So very powerful tool to analyze how people move across your environment and how they get to the information they need. Very useful for people that are interested in optimizing that space or simply wanting to improve the user experience within that environment. Additionally, something that I wanted to show you is a funnel report. Now, this is a very simple one. It shows you only 2 steps, but here we're measuring whether people read the news and shared them afterwards. So not only we can combine different events like page views and any other event, but you can also see, the drop-off rate. So after reading, where did they move, or maybe they just left the website entirely. It's very useful for you. You can add multiple steps to basically test your designed flow of user across your environment, or we can go back to the comparison and quickly add the segments again to see how different departments are actually, or what's the behavior within each of the departments. And maybe there is something that you can help those employees with something that they may be struggling. So that's a lot of the reports, but let me jump back quickly into the SharePoint reports and focus on the top section. So over here, well, so far what we've been looking at is the reporting that is dedicated to a single site collection. So in order to pick your site collection over here in the top right corner, you just use that drop-down menu and pick them from the list. But you also have got an option to pick a group of site collections. It's up to you how you group them. So this is one of the examples. And then what is going to happen is actually by using the reports on the over here in the top section, those are dedicated to the analysis across multiple site collections here. So as you can see, we can again see it from through the lens of the office or department. If we want to just see how the different types of contents are performing, we've got it in one single place. Mind you that we've got only one site collection for this example, but over here you would have a long list of whatever you want to look at. And quickly we can just switch from one type of content to another, etc., etc. As I said, that's plenty of reports, and you can dig deep quite a lot on your own. But what if you just want to go back and quickly just have a look at a glance at what's going on to see the overall performance. Or maybe you just want to create the reports and schedule them and send them to the list of users that just capture in one single place a lot of information. This is actually where our dashboards come into place. So over here, we actually do not limit you in the number of dashboards that you can create. You can create as many. You can also go and add your own layouts. Let me just quickly switch back to the site collections that we were looking at before. And as you can see, I've got a dashboard that is specifically built around the user activity. It's up to you how you create the layout, as you can quickly just reorganize it or resize it, add multiple different widgets. So as you can see, we just added different groups of users based on their behavior, so consumers, creators, and influencers, and we see how they behave across the time. Over here on the left-hand side, we can compare the performance or the engagement of the users between different offices or departments. Over here in the middle, you've got a brief overview of how many page views or list views occurred in the last period. And here we're looking at how content was created or edited, and maybe if there is a tie between that and the social activity. So as you can see, in that period, there was a little bit of more content created, and immediately that created a little bit of the social buzz. But you do not have to stop at that. You can go again into a little bit more details. So if you scroll down through this dashboard, I put a couple of tables that show us most popular files and pages, and you can actually see their URLs, so with just a handful of metrics. You can go as creative as you want with all of that and build your own space for analyzing what is going within your SharePoint tenant. So that's almost the last piece that I wanted to share with you. Something that we touched upon when we were talking about different offices and departments is actually that you can anonymize that or basically change how you capture that information. So let me jump into our test SharePoint environment. So what do you see here? We actually have got, so this is basically our Piwik PRO settings available directly after the installation. So what you're looking at here is actually the single site collection settings. You can either use the global ones or override the global ones and say, okay, I want the extended user information, but only the department and only the office. It is up to you how you set it. You can fully anonymize it or pick as much information as you want. The global settings are located here. By default, everything is switched on. It's entirely up to you what you pick and what actually flows into your data, but mind you that you can actually set it for each of the site collections. So global settings may be anonymized, but for some specific environments, you can capture some additional data if you require. So that actually concludes my demo presentation. So let me jump back to the presentation.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Bartek. If you guys have any questions, please send them in so we can answer all of them at the end. And I think now that we've actually seen what we talked about before, it's made a lot of more sense, but I know it still can be quite overwhelming. So I prepared a few points that I would like you guys to remember from this webinar. The first one is that this solution is a bespoke plug-and-play integration. So it's designed to be easy, it's designed to be clear, but again, it's very flexible. So if it doesn't fulfill what you're looking for, it can always be adjusted to your needs. Another thing is that this integration was dedicated strictly to SharePoint. It was built around the key SharePoint areas, and so it understands SharePoint, it speaks SharePoint, and it will give you the basic SharePoint data that you need. But all the reports can be customized, so you can add or take away any metrics or dimensions to create a report that you would like to see. And also, as Bartek just mentioned, you can create dashboards that will store the basic overview of the most important information for you. And last but not least, we're not leaving you alone with this integration. We've got three teams that will help you with this solution. So first, you will get a solution architect who will help you with the setup. And after, we have a lovely support team and a customer success team who will be with you throughout your whole journey with Piwik PRO. Right, so I think we pretty much summed up everything that we know already, but my question is, what's next, guys?
So we continue the development of new features to help you work more effectively. And in our plans, we have things like collect SharePoint stats via API. For example, track information about the number of registered SharePoint users. Then on our list, we've got video tracking with predefined reports. What's important here, that's currently, yes, we are able to track videos in our solution. And so what we want to achieve here is to have predefined reports with video tracking. And one more thing is track other Office 365 apps. We want to expand our solution to cover more tools in the stack. And we are also waiting for your feedback and feature requests. So let us know about your needs.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And I think we're all looking for the future. Right, so I think we can wrap the presentation and the demo part here and jump into the Q&A session. I can see that we got a few questions already, but if you still haven't sent yours, it's not too late, so feel free to do it right now. So let me start with the first question, which says, do you allow data export to other analytics tools?
So, well, yes, we've got a couple of the integration with external tools. Currently, our integration data that our integration collects may be exported to Power BI, Tableau, BigQuery. So those are the options that we currently have got developed. That's an additional service that we provide.
Great, thank you so much. And how do you track SharePoint on more technical level?
We're listening to SharePoint events. I'm talking about the communication between front-end and back-end layer. And we combine it with our JavaScript tracker. And all the events are passed to data layer then.
Great, thank you so much. The next question we have is, we have a hybrid environment, both on-prem and SPO. Would we need to install the connector on all on-prem environments as well as the tenant?
So there are two things which we should mention here. First one is the connector. Yes, you would have to install it on both environments. And the second thing is our Piwik PRO Analytics Suite. So the part that we showed you during the demo. So you would need only one installation of it.
Great, thank you so much. The next question, I think we covered it after this question was sent, but just a reminder, if you guys could answer it again, is can we anonymize the users to maintain privacy?
So as you probably have seen, yes, you can anonymize those data. You choose what should be done, and you can do it on different levels. You've seen in the application that you can choose which attributes you want to track. So this is the first thing. And the second one is you can hash user ID, so it can be anonymized. And there is one more thing which we didn't show you. You can also anonymize IP addresses.
Great. The next question I have is, for custom dashboards, can I create one and share it to other users?
Yes, you can actually do that. So currently the options that we allow for sharing is you can either save it only for yourselves, you can make it available to all the users that have got access to the data for a specific site collection. So we actually have got an extensive a feature that allows you to grant access or limit access to different site collections, or even allow users to only view the data but not change it. Another way of doing or sharing such information is, as I mentioned, you can actually export such such dashboards as an email report, and basically that such way you can send automated updates to a predefined user distribution list. So those are the options that are given for you.
Great, thank you. The next question is, if my SharePoint page had a link to an external file that doesn't sit within the SharePoint site, like for example a YouTube video, would Piwik be able to provide the data of this of the hits people who selected this YouTube video file?
Mm-hmm. In short, the answer is yes. We can provide you with such functionality. That would actually call for a little bit of a custom approach to it. So we could actually, script that specific behavior. As we said, our tool is very flexible, so there is additional layer of tag management on top of what we showed you on top of the analytics, and this is actually where we can add well, basically we can add additional tracking to something that is not available out of the box.
That's great, thank you. The next question says, it has been our experience that Office 365 often does not include Microsoft GCCH environment. Is that specifically supported?
I'm not sure about it, and this is something that we need to discuss internally, I think, and so we can come back with the answer after the meeting.
Sure. So just before we jump to the next question, at the end of the webinar, there will be email address that you can email your questions. So if you could do that after the webinar, we'll get back to you after we discuss it. The next question says, during the demo, you showed a drop down to select the SharePoint site. What if we have thousands of sites? How do you easily navigate the drop down list?
So basically, there is a search box on top of it. If you remember the name, or basically you know which one you're after, you can simply just type the keyword in, and that's how you could find it. So it's also it's entirely up to you what sort of naming convention you've got to go through those. There was also additional functionality where I showed you that you can actually report on multiple site collections at the same time. So another way of doing it, you could potentially just group them in what we call a meta site, and using such groups, you could actually get to that. But we're also happy to hear any additional ideas or needs that we could help you through with the navigation with development of our solution.
Thank you. And the next question says, some SharePoint environments have very long and ugly URLs, but I noticed that your report shows short and clean URLs. Do you use some sort of tool to clean up the URLs?
Yes, so there is actually a couple of ways. The way we do it currently with our integration, it has embedded functionality that basically removes all the query strings. So whatever is posted after the question mark, for example, is totally removed. So we just deliver such clean URL. There is potential for adding some other logic to that script. So basically, as the product grows, there are some common ways of excluding additional information or rules. We can simply add it there. So that's how we actually achieve it.
Great, thank you so much. Our next question is about the support, and it says, what does the support include exactly?
So I can talk about the part of the solution architect part. So basically, there's a couple of the teams that are involved in the support. So first and foremost, during the process of getting a trial or onboarding, solution architects are there to gather the information or the business needs of the clients, and then basically make them into a viable integration with what our solution can provide, just to make sure that all the requirements are fulfilled. During the installation or maintenance of SharePoint, there is another service delivery team that looks after our clients. Part of such team is our support, which is there to basically help you with any questions that you may have. Additionally, I think that you could talk to that a little bit more. That is the customer success team that is responsible for upskilling and training our customers to use the full potential of the solution. So those are the layers of the support that we provide all throughout the product lifecycle. So there's always someone from our end with you to help you get the most out of our product.
Great, thank you. And I can see that the last question that we have for now just came through, and I'll actually take over this one because it says, will a copy of this demo be provided? And yes, it will be. This webinar will be emailed to everyone who has signed up through the email, but also it will be linked on our website under the webinar tab. So of course you can access it whenever you need. It will be the whole webinar, but I'm sure you can just go to the demo section. Right, and I think that's everything for, that's all of the questions that we have. So I think we can wrap it up here. I've already answered the question that was a part of my ending, but again, I'm just reminding you guys that this webinar will be accessible after we finish it on our website. Sorry. And thank you so much, guys, for joining me today, and thank you for making this webinar happen. To Piotr and Bartek. It was great to have you here. And thank you so much for watching this webinar. And I hope to see you guys on our next one. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.